butts get naked. Talking hella shit, we got music, we play it. Interviews, we got 'em. Episodes, no problem. Streaming every Saturday, so turn up the volume.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, we are in the Wolf Den with a special guest today. I am so happy to announce I have Mr. James Stephen joining us today. And we're going to talk about some law enforcement and how that career worked out for him. And yeah, without further ado, how are you, Mr. Stephen?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you for asking.
My pleasure. My pleasure, my pleasure. So, I like to start off my interviews with a bonus question, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
That's, something most people don't know about you.
Something most people don't know about me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a good bonus question. I don't know. It's like, So I've had my same group of friends since I've been kids.
Really?
My group is really, really small. I mean, we go back to childhood. So almost everything about me is kind of known,
Uh-huh. Open book.
Well, I don't know how much open. It's just they pretty much know me and I know them,
Yeah.
much.
And that's it.
Yeah, kind of.
Right on. Hey, how do you manage to keep the same group of friends?
That's, you know what? We were talking about this the other day. We're kind of really blessed, but because we all grew up in South Central, everybody had their own different lanes of life.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of the amazing part, that we all still became friends. Like some of my friends are people that I grew up with are on one side of the law, and then I'm on the other end of the table.
Uh-huh.
And we still been best friends like forever.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Were you able to still keep in touch even with your career being active?
Most definitely. I think it's like almost everything in life. At some point, at the end of the day, if you worked for, I don't know, a mechanic shop, at the end of the day, you take off your uniform
Mm-hmm.
and you take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
So my friends, like I said, even the ones that are at the other end of the table,
Mm-hmm.
they were there the day when I graduated from college. They were the day when I graduated from the police academy. They were actually there,
Oh, wow. What made you choose law enforcement?
So when I originally got out of college, I was working in a marketing company, and I moved out to Texas. And then when I came back from Texas, I was working with an organization assisting kids called Teen Post back in that day. And I was working at nighttime at a startup recording label. And when I was over by the project, somebody challenged me about law enforcement. And a couple of minutes later, I was up at the academy.
Get out. So what are some of the highlights you've had during your career?
Well, my career is kind of different than a lot of other people that work in law enforcement career.
Uh-huh.
I literally, my whole career, I don't think I was 6 months on patrol. So some of the associations with the day in, day in, out of a patrol officer, I never got to learn or be. So some of that also probably made a disassociation with me and like the everyday patrol officer.
Wow. Did you ever have regrets in doing so?
What, joining the police department or law enforcement, or not being in a uniform patrol officer?
Not patrolling.
No, because when you work on patrol, one of the jobs, I mean, you have a shift, you have a uniform, a set time to be in. When I was taken out of patrol and I started to work in specialized units or undercover, at that time period, my time or my hours or my shift it started to vary because of me being working undercover.
Mm. Your undercover experience, please tell me about that. Was that like the movies, or is it more in depth than what we
Well,
know?
no, maybe both. It's funny because the time period of the things that I did,
Mm-hmm.
it almost sounds sometimes like a movie. Like I went back to high school, undercover narcotic as a
Stop it.
student. Um,
21st Jump Street. Look at that.
exactly. That was before the movie had
Before
even
21
come
Jump
out.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of departments don't utilize that section anymore. They closed it down.
Mm-hmm.
But I did that. And then after that, I stayed under in narcotics, probably in the big height of everything.
Uh-huh.
And I stayed in during that time working narcotics.
Wow. Would you think that would you say that working narcotics is more dangerous than patrol?
Well, it's a different type of danger. You know, it's like when guys work on patrol, they're they never know what they're stopping.
Yeah.
When I'm working under, I know everything that I'm working.
Uh-huh.
I know the information, who it is I'm looking for, what's going on. I'm prepared to, yeah, even being somebody else, my character, who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know the ins and out of that part.
Mm-hmm.
So the surprises that come to me in my line of work there is almost the same prize that everybody get on their same daily this, you know, because I'm a character now
Uh-huh.
more so than I am known as being a police officer at that time period, you know.
Wow. Have you ever had to or ever been in a situation where your position was compromised?
Oh yeah, I've had like there was a time period where I had busted a group of individuals and there was this lady that was arrested. And I was at this time period, I was going back undercover into this other location, which was a drug location back in the day that was all barred up.
Uh-huh.
So when they let me through the barred door, I entered to the house and I was sitting there. And lo and behold, out the room came the lady that I arrested.
Ooh, ooh, wait. Stomach just turning like, oh no.
But it was so I'm looking like, okay, I can't get back out the door because on the interior of the house, there's a security bar door,
Uh-huh.
there's the regular door, and then on the exterior of it, there's another door. So I'm 2 stories up, and I'm looking at the out the window like, man, if I
Mm.
just make it to the window and jump out the window and hit the ground, and maybe, you know, I'm thinking all the scenarios in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
If I roll on the ground, if I get close to the house, if they're going to be shooting down to me, I'll be tied up against the wall, and
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I can make it around the corner and get away, right? So I'm trying to play all these different things in my head
Uh-huh.
on how to make my exodus from that location.
It's like living a movie every day almost.
I mean, I guess some of the things are what movies are made from, but
Yeah.
in the case then, when the girl came out, she sat down next to me and she asked me after I finished buying what I was purchasing
Uh-huh.
that I want to get high with her and party. She didn't recognize me
Shut up.
as the person who had arrested her
Wow.
like 2 or 3 weeks earlier.
Just that recent?
That recent, yeah, it was
Get
within a month.
out.
She didn't recognize me. I don't know if it was because she was high or anything like that. So,
Wow. And did you ever take like a picture of yourself in and out of undercover and then in uniform to see how different you might have looked like really different though.
well, I wasn't in uniform. My uniform time period was only 6 months. And then after that, I've been almost in specialized
Yeah.
services all my life. So when I arrested her, I wasn't in uniform.
Oh, damn. That's that go fast life. She remember what happened that morning, much less
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
kind of good for me. But literally, when the rest went down with the task force, I was an active part of that rest. Sometimes being under, you don't participate in the takedowns. Sometimes you have, you're just back onto your next case. But in this situation, she didn't recognize me.
Was there any time during your career that any turning points that happened that may have affected your personal life?
So there was a time when I was at a house and a child had drowned in the bathtub.
Oh, wow.
And I was trying to give the child mouth to mouth to, hoping bring back the vitals. And at one moment, I guess maybe the water fluid that was moving was going back and forth. I thought she was coming out and she didn't. So for a very, very, very long time, that stayed in my head because of her. And it's funny how life is. Maybe 5 or 6 years later, I was downtown, and in the middle of the street, this lady was crying. I guess her kid was having some type of seizure reaction, and I guess the fluids that were in her, she swallowed, and she would stop breathing. And I'm out of our vehicle at that time because I see the lady, I grab her, I tell her who I am, so she comfort him and get the child. I go back through, and I was able to resuscitate her. And the funny thing about that life, I know it doesn't take anything away from the child that was gone, but for me, it was like two sides of the building. In this one, the kid was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to, I feel like I've always felt like you have to be a very mentally strong individual to withstand that much pain on a regular basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
The thing
one
is,
skill.
you see a lot. I mean, some things like, I guess people in war see a lot more, and that's where there's a lot of that post trauma and things occur. But you see a lot of things that maybe you shouldn't see, or you don't want to know. I mean, I've seen things from like terrible murders and disbodiment to satanic stuff and rituals to everything else. I think the biggest thing, though, I think like one of the reasons a lot of police officers get divorced and stuff, because when you're out there and you see some really, really horrific type of things that occurred, and you go back home, and then maybe your spouse and them, they're having a hard day because they can't think whether or not, I don't know, what kind of costume the kid should wear to school or something like that.
Yeah, so my
And then in your mind, you're like, man,
are you
is that really?
clean motherfucking brains off the fucking floor? You talking about a costume right now?
But you have to find yourself and realize that that's just as important. And you have to take a breath and go, give that, because it's important to the people that you care about. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they're not dealing with the other things. So this is major to them at that time.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to escape the one pair of shoes you're wearing and then put on another pair of shoes,
That's one hell of a balance. That is a serious balance. I feel like law enforcement should get an extra check just for dealing with the balance of that type of, you know what I'm saying, being in that element and then switching off, being able to successfully switch off and go right into husband or daddy mode or whatever mode that you normally are in.
Yeah, but I think the problem, like for instance, everybody loves a fireman. Fireman is for the cheer. You got to remember, in law enforcement, the same time that you might be a hero, at the same time you're that asshole. You're the villain at the very same time. Because the same time, somebody may be overly happy because you captured the person that murdered their family member, and then on the other side, you're taking somebody away that's another person's family member.
Right.
So at the same time, you're loved and hated. And then with a lot of the racism that occurred with policing sometimes, that puts a whole nother dislike or hatred, which is real because individuals that are profiled and harassed, they got a right too, because this power of authority, like a long time ago, somebody told me that badge covers a little bit of your chest and none of your ass. And be careful not to stain the badge. For some individuals, the badge becomes this big super shield, and then they bite that forbidden apple where they start thinking, I'm better than everybody else. I'm super cop. I'm better than the people that you're supposed to serve. And that's a deep drowning pool where once you get in it, you're going to come out and not be who you were in the beginning of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to become a good old boy instead of becoming somebody who's out there trying to serve and assist people. You know?
Right. How do you feel your contribution to law enforcement has made a difference?
So mine's members a little bit different because I didn't have that same uniform thing. So a lot of people never even knew who I was, except for a lot of my close friends or people around. So I think the contribution, like law enforcement can be sometimes, especially in working in special task force and special assignments, it could be an adrenaline. You know, it could be that rush where that you're going through something every day. So at the end of the day, the only really way to value something is at the end of the day that the people are safe. Hopefully the people that apprehended were safe, because they have a whole nother day of going to court and trials and all the other kind of things. They're just apprehended. The guilty part comes later on by their own peers, right? Who sit up in a jury. So that balance of that day, when you look at yourself and validate it, it's really in the eyes of people that you helped. You know what I mean? And it seems like if you work in narcotics, people don't think, no, there's nothing. But when a trap house or drug house or rock house is being created right in a certain particular area, there's also a fear to all of the surrounding areas. So the players that are involved in that narcotic adventure at that house, but the other people are locked in their house. I mean, I grew up a time in Los Angeles where people didn't have bars in their house.
Right.
And then when the drug era came, it would be strange not to see bars on people's house. I mean, I literally, I don't know if you remember that scene in The Wiz where the water falls on the witch and the Wiz, and she ends up dying. Everybody says a brand new day. It's funny because I started realizing at that time period started changing. I started seeing all the bars coming off of people's homes and new windows going in and all the other kind of things, and the neighborhood turning back into a residential neighborhood. But for a while, we were all locked up in our own homes. And we used to think the bars were real good. And then people figured out how to snatch the bars up off, for real burglars and get in. So the hope of slowing your house from being burglarized was just from that. And then when the PCP era was going on, and I mean, it became really like a wild, wild west. I always fuss with officers when they try to say that they want to work certain divisions because they think it's a war zone. And that becomes problematic, because if you think it's a war zone instead of a community, you're going to go in there acting
You're going to go
as is the war zone. So you got to remember that this is actually a community. There's people and there's lives that are occurring day to day, work, come home, and family up in there. You know what I mean? And that everybody's not a participant in that particular game.
Right. Do you feel like your journey was harder than some of your more lighter skinned counterparts?
So, so I think the difference in when the time period when I was on patrol, right, for that 6 month time period, I'm
Mhm.
working a late shift and I'm in a car with an officer right now. Now I'm a rookie at this time, so I'm being trained.
Uh-huh.
And he looks at me and he says, there was actually, I'm working Hollywood at that point. There
Hmm.
was a couple of black people who are walking down the street, right? And I
Hmm.
see him look at him. And he looks back at me and he goes, "Hey man, I really like you. You're different than all the rest." And I said to him, because I noticed him when he looked, I said, "No, I'm not different than all the rest. This is just my job, man." And I
Yeah.
kind of laughed in that same sense, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I came back, I was put off his car. My ratings went from good to all the way terrible
Damn.
because I didn't, I guess, reply the way you wanted. But the thing is, like when I talk to young officers, other people that are going through, especially during time period, I tell them once you bite that forbidden apple and you think you're different than all the rest,
Uh-huh.
then your activities are going to be different because you
Right.
start thinking now once again you're better or different.
Mm-hmm.
So for about 3 or 4 months, I was getting kind of harassed and all of that. And
Wow.
to cut it short, I was end up taken away later anyway to undercover, and I no longer had to deal within that
Yeah.
one particular realm.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself lucky, one of the lucky ones,
As far as
as far as being able to leave patrol and go into special operation?
um, no, I didn't think I was. I didn't think I was lucky.
Hmm.
When I grew up in high school, I played sports. I was a starter there. And
Huh.
going in church, I was active. I was a starter there. In
Hmm.
my family, with my friends, I was always up toward the top of whatever I was doing, even in college.
Hmm.
You know, the expectancy of me doing other things, I didn't look at it as being lucky. I thought I just had the ability to do it. If that
Hmm.
makes any sense to
Yeah.
you, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. What are some of the opportunities that your career has provided you?
Um, there's the satisfaction sometimes in
Hmm.
doing something that you feel like you risked yourself for somebody else.
Hmm.
And then on the other side of the table, during that time period, because a lot of the training and things that I was doing, I started a specialized security company, and I provided security for a lot of different people, and
Hmm.
I employed a lot of different other individuals and training them in a
Hmm.
more professional way to do security.
Yeah.
And those individuals, like during their career, I mean, they end up protecting a lot of like known individuals and entertainers and
Uh-huh.
other people in the business. So, and we're still like friends. So it was kind of nice to be a part of affording people, especially during then, like a salary that was where you could take care of your family, where
Yeah.
you were. I mean, I literally like sometimes I met guys who were working security jobs at condominiums and things like that, and
Hmm.
talking to them, seeing how smart, intelligent they were, kind of taking them and retraining them,
Hmm.
and now they were making enough money where they're able to buy the condominium or buy a
Hmm.
home or living in that. And
Yeah.
that kind of association was really good. I mean, the funny thing about a long time ago, someone told me uh, being right doesn't need a justification. So
Hmm.
anytime you do something wrong, if you find yourself justifying something, you're probably not doing something right.
True. Very true.
So keeping that same thing in my head or my mind when you're out there and you're helping people or you're doing things. Anytime when you come back, you have to justify something you done. Probably know what I did probably wasn't right or it wasn't in the right sense.
Hmm. Now, when you say you have your own security company,
Mm-hmm.
who are some of the people you've been securing on?
I've had tours, politicians, country and western, hip hop, actors, studios. I've done a lot of those different things for my company and
Wow.
watching out to people because the individuals that I work with or train, they're more proactive in
Mm-hmm.
the things that they see, and they have the ability of using their intelligence and their mouth
Mm-hmm.
even before they have to use force
Yeah.
to dissolve certain situations.
Awesome. Yeah, that's professionalism that a lot of people need. They just mm.
Well, most of our guys, we all train together. We do grappling together. You start learning how angles and diversions and diverting other people's forces
Mm-hmm.
could solve a situation or break an individual down without injuring or hurting somebody.
Awesome. Well, please tell the audience, about your company and where they may contact if they need assistance from you. Or is it like private? Do you need a referral from the president?
You know what? It's kind of funny because 100% is referred.
Mm,
100% it is referred, and we don't take on every artist. We don't take
mm,
on every situation.
mm.
We actually look at our clients and we decide whether or not we're going to work with them.
Want to be a good fit or not?
Yeah, it's not about the money at that point because the money's always out there. It's like,
Yeah.
can we? Is it this somebody that? A lot of time with some artists, you're really protecting the public from the audience. I mean, from the artist.
Yeah.
It's not vice versa. So
Uh-huh.
you really got to know who you're working with and why you're working with them.
Mm.
And if it's just money, it's always going to become
It's always
problematic.
gonna be something going
Gonna
down
be problematic.
at every event. I definitely understand that.
And every artist that we ever, they know if certain things go, we'll leave. We'll pack up and we leave.
Yeah,
Um,
as you should.
so so the choices are, it's like for a lot of people because they need that particular income, they're almost like henchmen. They'll do whatever someone tells them to do it. In
Uh-huh.
our kind of situation, I mean, it's explained ahead of time what our functions are, what we do, and so that you could totally understand the realm and the
Uh-huh.
expectancy of us and the expectancy that we have of our clients.
Mm. I can definitely understand that. That's awesome sauce. Oh, I'm so glad you came to the Wolf Den and chopped it up with me. I'm just honored. I am really honored. You are such a delight. Thank you so much for blessing the platform today.
No, I appreciate it. And I know because everybody looks at the police department and um, it's easy to see the things that are wrong that are done, but
Uh-huh.
if there are individuals that are interested in getting into law enforcement,
Uh-huh.
I kind of really want to encourage that because people of certain ethnicity, well, I'm black, so the numbers are going way, 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 way down.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the representation or people that hopefully and blessed that you can communicate with and understand who you are culturally as well,
Uh-huh.
we start missing that as the
Right.
numbers of blacks, African Americans start disappearing from law enforcement.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. If you consider it a career in law enforcement, don't just consider it. Go on, take the test, do your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't doing shit
That's-
anyway. You might as well make a difference. Hell.
yeah, at least take the test and
Mm-hmm.
see what it is because you always say no,
Right,
but
right. But you never
but
know where it could take you.
yeah.
You don't always, as you can see with Mr. Steven, you don't always be behind, saying the patrol car, like the sirens that's going by now. You don't always have to be there. You can be in special forces. It's so many different branches.
Yeah, there's a lot of things from helicopters to our dive team to,
Mhm.
I mean, there's There's a whole lot, but don't just go in for the money. The money's decent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do it because you want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, try to make a difference.
Yes.
You know, be somebody that be who you are in what you do.
Mm-hmm. I totally
Well,
agree.
thank you for having me on your show.
I surely appreciate you stopping
it.
by. Oh my goodness. Such a wonderful, wonderful episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I
It's my
surely
pleasure.
would look to have you again.
My pleasure.
You have a great evening and take care.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.